2017. This is MMA Junkie Radio's pre-show, the show before the show. I am Goz. To my left is Gorgeous George. He's the host of the show. To his left is mixed martial arts legend. Just kidding.
What? Jesus.
Analyst. I just want to see what he do.
Scared me.
Our fight analyst, Dan Tom. And, of course, Danny Otto. He is back in New York. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Watching Dan's face is funny when you do shit like that.
This is the time to catch me off guard, too. I'll be like, what? Sure, sure. Or I'll just agree to it blindly, and then, you know.
I still want. I'm going to send you the link to him being Butters, Danny, so you can laugh.
I was waiting. I've been sitting here waiting for it.
I want to... Well, I don't know enough about George. Have you? Oh, he doesn't have... You seen the fires in California? Did you see that video?
So sad, dude.
You saw the video of the guy driving to work?
Check out Brendan Schaub's got a real eerie one, and then Chris Perona's got a real eerie one. So they were photos, not videos.
Okay, I'm gonna try and pull up this video.
I'm sure there's, I was watching
local
Cali news. Yeah,
that one.
I saw Brendan Schaub post something like that.
Oh,
that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Would you even head in that direction?
No, but you don't have a.
That's the craziest part about it.
A car that contains gasoline, so.
Yeah, very scary.
I think that's a day
Thoughts and prayers out to those people.
Hey, I'm a mile away. Turning around.
That's the crazy thing too. In LA, it's like you could be 15 minutes away from somewhere, but it might take you an hour to get to that location. I know that sounds stupid, but it's just the way it is.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. What else do we have going on here? Going through our check marks here.
Check marks?
Checks and balances, bro. You didn't get your checks and balances sheet?
No, I didn't. Where can I download that?
You know you can download it.
What?
I don't know why I said it that way.
Are we going to take a break before Rashad, George?
We're going to take a break after Dan's comment. That's why we started early. Let him get it out of his system. Then we can start the show.
On that note, I take a big swig of coffee like I need it now.
Do you know if Max the dog ate? I mean, I fed him, but I don't know if he actually ate.
He didn't eat initially, but then he wound up eating.
Coming up in a minute.
That, of course, is our Jack Russell Terrier, Max the dog.
But he peed yesterday for the first time in a while.
Well, that's what we were trying to figure out.
I think he's just older and he needs to pee maybe more often, so we have to be cognizant of it.
Are you sure it was pee?
But the last couple times, Goes, that I'm giving you the scratch on your door, man, you might as well put a sign outside that says,
I don't hear
I'm in a vault, leave me alone for 12 hours. Like,
if I hear it, I'll open the door, yeah.
So I don't know if I have to start pounding, but a few times I've been trying to get him to go with you just so I can kind of have a better night's sleep. He's gotten a little used to me, and I stand there and wait, and then I go, all right, come on with me, so.
I don't think he peed, though. I think he might have thrown up.
No, he peed.
Yeah?
Yeah. Juliet investigated it a little bit.
Alright, guys. Going up at 10. Stand by.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA Junkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goz. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
with the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is Goes and Dan Tom. Ace co-host, fight analyst, back east, Danny Otto, producer. World's greatest? I'm not so sure of that, but he's up there. He's like top 50 maybe? Just kidding, Danny. What's up, Danny? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good, good, good. Today is hump day. Happy hump day to all you that are humping or will be or did.
I missed that camel.
You got one up on me. And it's December 6th, so we're halfway through the week. This is probably the last time where we can react to UFC 218. Just kidding. I mean, you can call in anytime. But serious, where we really, I guess, are still pumped over that great event. Somebody put up a poll. What was better, 217 or 218? I actually thought about it. I was driving. I got to pull over because I knew I had to catch up on some messages. And I really wanted to go bout by bout, title fight versus title fight. And I know one of them had 3 title fights. But still, there was just so many great things that came up with it. You know what I submitted? I put in 218.
I put 217.
But 217 got the most love. It was like a 60-40 deal.
I'm with
you.
you.
Saw that poll too?
Yeah.
Was it Facebook or something?
Somebody
Or
just
Twitter?
asked me personally, and
Yeah.
it was yesterday during the show. I think it was Martin Stabilo from Hawaii,
Yeah.
and I ended up going with 217. But it's no slight to 218.
Yeah, it's hard to. You're picking straws at that point. There's so many good narratives from both.
219 though, I started thinking it's a little bit of a drop off from those two, but who knows? 218. What divided it for me, guys? What I shouldn't say divided. What broke the tie for me was just that killer undercard at 218.
Yeah,
that was something else, man. It really set up the pay-per-view nicely. But anyway, react to 218, or let's start looking forward to the Fresno card, Cub Swanson versus Brian Ortega. I'm going to ask Rashad Evans this because he's going to be one of our guests. He's a Fox Sports analyst this weekend.
Oh no! I hope it's not my question.
UFC middleweight, UFC light heavyweight. No, well, I'll just tell you now, and then you can either nod or whatever. But I'm just going to tell him, are we going to be looking for technique or violence? Violence seems to be the theme to close out this year.
Close, huh?
And these two are going to make it bloody. I think we want them to be technical, use head movement, you know what I mean, and get your hands up. But at the same time, I think at some point they're just gonna take a look at each other and say, hey, let's just throw down. And of course, I'm down for both. It doesn't matter to me if the fight's all over the place. Those moments, like Holloway stomping his foot and pointing down, grabbing his nuts and telling Lamas, let's do this, and they close those last 10 seconds just wailing on each other. Fuck, live for moments like that. So Evans will be a guest of ours, as will Rachel Ostovich, who came off the Ultimate Fighter Season 26. Not only with an impressive run in the season, I love the competitiveness, the fire in her belly. She took that loss hard that she had, which eliminated her from contending for the first flyweight title in the UFC for women. And she rebounded with a win. She was one of the submission masters, the armbar masters, at Tough 26 finale. So overall, man, it was really a great season for Rachel Ostovich. I don't know who said it. I may even just tell her this too. But somebody told me when we talked about who's on the season, I think the names were released, you had a lot of people that said, well, I think Barb Honchak, she's the former Invicta champ, well-known 125er for many years, uncrowned champion, blah, blah, blah. There was some real serious talk. And then, of course, you always have, when you have males talking about females in fighting, no matter what, it's professional, everyone tries to remain, you still have a legion that says, oh, man, but so-and-so, who's the best looking. And that's what somebody told me. Rachel's on the show. Hearts. I love her, this, that, whatever. But immediately, and I think it was Facebook or Twitter, somebody goes, she sucks. And I went, whoa, because I hadn't seen much of her. So I just remember thinking, okay, pretty face, not good, all right, we'll see what happens. I was just kind of taking mental notes as the season unfolded. Dude, she's good. She's really good. she's gonna be in that. She's gonna be in that weight class for a while for the UFC. I think she's got a good 5-7 fights, unless she went 0 for 5. But I think she's gonna be there for a while. I think the UFC found themselves a solid competitor from Hawaii, and Rachel Ostovich. So anxious to talk to her.
I think she's still finding her way because I have seen a lot of her fights, and she has kind of had like up and down, up and down, up and down. But I
Was
feel
it
like
you that said she sucks?
I don't think I said she
Oh, okay.
sucks, but on Tough, I think like maybe she found her stride a little bit there.
The wrestling, I mean, the striking has come, and again, I love it when you find somebody that just wants to get better, and you could tell by the way she took that loss, she wants to get better.
Yeah, even in her post-fight, she had a nice post-fight interview on Friday, and you could really just tell how much it meant to her, how much she's been putting into it. So be excited to talk to her later.
Those are our 2 guests, and they're exactly at the bottom of each hour. So we got 30 minutes to take calls, go over the latest news.
Jersey Mike's already on deck.
We'll talk to some fighters, and then once we hang up with the fighters before we get to the top of the hour, we have plenty of time to just keep pumping out calls. 866-522-2846. That's the number to call. And again, anything's on the table. UFC 218 reaction, UFC Fight Night 123 reaction. Any of the Bellator cards that have been taking place. I think the middleweight champion Carvalho defends against Sakura coming up this weekend. So name it, and we're into it. And let's not forget PFL. I'd love to get an update from them, but are they starting their $1 million tournaments at some point next season? I'd love to hear some more from them as far as like who's in, what the deal is, when does it start. Much like Bellator's been putting out these posters for the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix. I've already seen one with Mitrione and Nelson, and then of course Mir and Fedor. We know that Chael and Rampage start things off, so I like the way Bellator's starting to warm things up for 2018. It is still football season. Throw something at us. The final 4 teams have been anointed for the college football playoff. I'm into that. NBA hoops. I'm into that. English Premier League. I'm into that. And how about that coach from the Giants? He benches the Eli Manning, 2-time Super Bowl winner. Geno Smith comes out and plays. They lose. And then, of course, him and I think the offensive coordinator got fired. So what are the Giants thinking? You either back the coach when he makes the decision, or maybe they're trying to right the wrong that the coach did, and that was benching Eli Manning when it really didn't matter. You didn't have a – why am I talking about this? I don't care about the Giants. I'm just saying anything you want to talk about. The hits in the NFL? Some crazy hits in the NFL, right?
I'm Googling the Giants.
You seen it? You seen the any of those hits?
No.
Rob Gronkowski, Juju. Oh, man. Some violent games in the NFL this past weekend.
I spend 40 hours a week at least looking at violent hits. So if I ever get free time, it's usually not spent. I'm the wrong guy to ask for football, but yeah, there's been a lot of my timeline, let's just say, flying through.
Do you have a favorite NFL team, by the way?
No, I don't, man. I'll tell you. One of the last players I liked was like this will date me like anything knowing about football was wow. See, I can't even remember that. There we go. Thurman. No, there's no.
Were you one of those guys that rooted for Thurman Thomas but wore a Larry Fitzgerald jersey?
Larry.
Thurman Thomas.
I know, I was just joking.
That's not even football. That's the
Thurman Thomas? You're thinking of Thurgood Marshall.
I'm thinking of Clarence Thomas. Never mind.
Oh, Clarence Thomas. Oh, he actually. We can also talk about violators of women. Alleged violators. It is, yeah. Who's the latest?
They have their own Hall of Fame.
Who's the latest, by the way?
Oh, there was one the other day.
Them pig senators out there.
The guy from the Backstreet Boys.
What kind of game? So once you're a senator, your game is just
Nick Carter.
Let's have the meeting while I jerk off.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I don't get that. What happened to let's go grab a drink and then let's see what happens from there. I'll spit some game, and hopefully you're single and I'm single and it's on. But these guys. The game they're running, you know.
Thankfully, we haven't seen.
We got to go over the script. You be this person, you be this person. I'll jerk off in front of you two while you do that. That's their game. These Hollywood moguls, these directors, these senators, they just that's it. It's on.
Well, we've seen people get power drunk. We've seen people get power drunk in our sport, but thankfully it hasn't gone to that. We haven't gotten to that level though, right?
Our sport, no.
We've gotten some pretty crazy characters doing some crazy things at times, but I don't think we've gotten to that level of power and pressure cooking.
You see the deal with McGregor? Nick Carter?
Yeah. He's kind of
the guy from...
the Backstreet Boys?
Oh, I was thinking of someone else.
McGregor's on a tight schedule.
What happened to that guy?
I think some girl's accusing him of rape.
What?
Like a while back ago or something.
Wow.
That guy's got like an innocent face, though.
Yeah.
Looks like the boy next door.
I'm telling
you. You wish you would have paused when I said, "Who's that?" And you would have went, He's a singer. And then the Backstreet Boys. Instead, you kind of like knew right away who Nick Carter was.
Well, he's pretty famous, isn't he?
I guess, but I didn't
Yeah.
know
If
you
it
were
were
a
like
boy
Howie
band
or something, Howie D.
aficionado.
What are the other ones?
I don't know.
See, I did it that time.
Jesus.
Okay, where were we? Chris Carter?
No, not
Nick
Chris
Carter.
Nick Carter. Yeah, I guess he got accused of rape,
Wow.
and then.
Oh no.
But okay, but here's the thing.
McGregor's
though.
what I was saying. So I'll bring it back to McGregor.
Circle
But finish
back,
your thought.
Yes.
With him, like I don't know much about him, but it's not that shocking because like boy bands, you figure, all right, girls are being thrown at you left and right. That scenario I could see maybe coming up, right? But it's these like executives that you just wouldn't think. Like you just think they go in with a suitcase, they do their job, and it's like, what the hell are they doing? This one kind of makes sense. A little
How long
bit, I
ago was that accusation?
guess. I don't know.
Okay. So here's the deal with McGregor. He in no way has been accused of that. That's not what I'm saying. But some lady named Rita Ora, who I guess is a pop singer in the UK, put out a tweet. There was some award show or something like that out there, and because they were sitting together, she actually put date night. Date night at Notorious MMA. Now he has had I guess a girlfriend. I don't even think they've reached fiance and wife status or anything like that, but a well-known girlfriend. I mean,
been together
a
for a
partner who's been by his side, especially if you watch the documentary.
Part of his
Remember I told
story.
you I watched half?
Yeah.
I still haven't watched the other half, but it's really good, and I got to finish it. JBLE kind of sent me back a little bit on things to do. But McGregor, he's had this partner, girlfriend, D is her name, and they're always together, and they had a kid recently. So, not that this would be the first time I've heard of a man obviously going outside the boundaries, which I'm not saying he did, but I would think he'd be a lot more stealth than that. So obviously this is just two big names from that side of the pond, but this chick, why is she putting that out there? Like, that's dumb. I mean, I'm not saying there is something going on, but even if there was, I don't think he would be that public about it. And two, like, I don't get why she did that.
Do you know if she took it down?
I don't know. But in comes
what is her
Artem Lobov, who cracks me up from time to time. And I know a lot of people don't like him because they feel like he's riding McGregor's jock, which he is in a way. But that's a whole other thing. He writes her, sorry, Rita, burgers are nice, but not when a man has a steak at home. So, what a wingman right there, coming to the rescue of McGregor. I don't know what McGregor has tweeted since then, or if there's a denial or what. Sometimes you just keep your mouth shut. If there really isn't anything there, why address it? Again, I don't believe anything was happening other than just two people who were at an award show. But why that young lady would do that and cause problems, that's not cool.
Wait, but can it just be like, as a joke? Sometimes you can do things like that. It just so happens that he's going through something where it makes it look dumb. But not everybody knows that, right? Especially in that world.
Yeah, that's...
Can it just be like... I mean, I would think at this point, if I'm her, she's probably heard of the repercussion. And I think it makes sense to either retitle it or take it down, right?
It's a good... Yeah, I mean, in a way it's a good point, Goes. But I've always also thought that when you do... Yeah, I guess. Take it down. Take it down. Like, hey, I want no problems.
Yeah, like...
Right,
I was going to say sometimes you're admitting guilt when you do that, but no, I think in the end, I think your best bet is like, well, why'd you, if somebody asks, why'd you take it down? You say, well, I was joking and it was taken another way, so I thought best to just cut it.
Let's say I'm at the World MMA Awards, all right? And I'm sitting next to Brittany Palmer, right? And Brittany goes, hey, let's take a pic, all right? I could see myself putting, hey, date night, haha, everybody, and it's a joke, right? But... I don't know she doesn't know what's going on in my world. I don't know what's going on in her world. I don't know. I could just see it as maybe just being kind of a joke. But once people start calling you out on it, then I think, yeah, you have to make your adjustments and go, oh, shit, I didn't know this was going on in your world. I mean, we don't all know what the hell's going on in each other's lives.
I guess the logical
Especially
question...
pop and MMA.
Yeah, I guess the logical question is to see what either of the two parties did to clear it up since then. I honestly don't know. I don't invest. I don't really care. But I try to stay away from the fighters' personal lives. I don't know what's going on with him and D or him and this lady. But I will say, all it took was the investigation of just one click just to see who this person was when this initially came out. Just clicked on the profile, no follows or anything like that. But conveniently on her profile, her new book and album was conveniently linked. Everything was conveniently pinned, and what I'm trying to say here is I think it's a product of just kind of this behavior today where it's exemplified. It's there's a big stadium football game. If you have your fruit or whatever you're selling, you go by the big attraction because you know that big attraction is going to bring business to you. And this is kind of just the social media today playing the politics of today's version of that. McGregor is a big show. Even he's making news lines every week, even when he's not fighting. Why don't I pitch up my fruit stand right next to him? And hence why kind of tailoring back why maybe she didn't take it down goes, because it makes sense. Why not just take it down at that point? Well, she's got stuff to sell.
Yeah, nutty that we're talking about it in this day and age. But that's how big McGregor is. That I mean, you saw the numbers. I think it was 13,000 shares. So others are interested in it as well. I think, I often hear get to the X's and O's, get to the game plans, get to the fights. Okay, cool. Well, we will. It's a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
But this was dominating the news. Yesterday.
Jeez.
Good burn, good burn, sick burn. It says right here, but I agree with Artem got her pretty good.
Just a quick shout out to the people in Los Angeles that have to deal with these fires that are
more
going
important
on right
information.
now. Our hearts, our thoughts, our prayers are with you guys. That is an insane looking fire.
That didn't look real.
Yeah, it looked like they were going through Mordor.
Yeah,
I saw another angle, George, and I think this is the one that our boss at USA Today posted. But look at that. Look at.
Well, what's also pretty bad about that is not just the flames itself and all the damage it can cause, all that smoke, dude. You can't be inhaling that.
It's like raining ash. There's been times when we lived in Orange County that there were fires in L.A., and we would get ash in Orange County. So I can't imagine what it would be like over there.
I gotta imagine.
See that driving by right there? Mom did that about 5 years ago by a fire in Canyon Hills off the 91 in Southern California. She drove by. I don't know at what speed. I don't know if she was stuck at traffic, but I remember it took her about a week to get over a bad cough she got just from that.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful, folks, out there. And Goes is right. I mean, hopefully this gets contained, put out soon, because there's a lot of them. There's one in Ventura. There's one in Brentwood, California. They're everywhere. The Santa Ana winds have kicked up, and they don't in any way help. That's for sure.
Danny, you saw the hits? What does that mean? Oh, the hits you were talking about, the football. Yeah, those were pretty bad.
Schuster and Gronkowski's was like really cheap.
Was like after the play.
Yeah, that was really cheap, and he only got one game because of it. 3. I think I agree with Goes. I think one game. I mean, I've seen other guys get tossed and get one game for something like way less than. I mean, they don't get paid
completely
either, right? premeditated, and he went and hit somebody that was completely defenseless on the ground. Just look, I know he's got frustrations because he's a big boy. He's like 6'6", 250 with speed and hands, and it is virtually impossible to guard him unless you have the size to keep up with him. Like if you're a linebacker that can pass protect, or excuse me, protect cover protection or whatever it's called. And if you got that, or you're a strong safety, that can keep up with them, then yeah, it works out. But one of them small corners, that's left out there like in a nickel package or dime package, and you're left against a big tight end like that who happens to, line up outside, and because he's all over the place. He's not always tucked next to the tackle, so he presents matchup problems. You're gonna be grabbing and pulling the shirt, and it gets frustrating. But hey, man, that's the game, and it's not like offensive players don't push off, but you just can't do something like that. That was bad. As far as the crackback blocks, some of them were with bad intentions, but if the other guy doesn't see it coming and you don't use the crown of your helmet and don't spear, then yeah, it's part of the game.
Some of this stuff gets outdated though. Like remember Deacon Jones? Remember, you ever see that interview, that legendary interview of him where he's describing the way how his technique, and he would slap him. He would slap the guy's first.
Head, yeah.
But when he explained it, he goes, when you slap a man or a woman on the side of the head, they tend to flinch. And it's just like you rewind. I'm like, why did he have to use a woman in there? It was just weird. I remember him breaking down his hitting
technique. I know his big move was just to slap. I never knew he said that though.
It's Adam Carolla does this funny thing on it, but it's in one of those like they play you in gym class when the substitute teacher that highlights of football, and one of them cuts to Deacon Jones. And I actually remember watching that one as a kid, and it's like whenever I go upside of a man's head or a woman, and I'm just like, whoa, wait, why did you add that in there, Deacon?
There was a time when in the 70s and 80s, I guess it was mostly through comedians, where it was acceptable to joke about that. Oh, sometimes you just need to give her a good slap, You brought me my pork chops late, and blah, blah. The whole crowd would just go nuts, and even the women would laugh. Ah, ha, ha,
whatever.
whatever.
Around the time of, like, Ike and Tina, though?
It was every decade had something,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess there was just a point in time where I think people laughed about it a little bit more. And then, of course, now we start to circle back and say, you just don't ever want to talk about that period. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No matter what the fashion is or what the point of it is or the setting or anything like that. But Deacon Jones was a great pass rusher. In fact, many say he would have the record for most sacks, but they didn't keep track of them when he played. And so officially, I think he's up there, but I don't know that they got every single one of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Played for the Rams, part of the fearsome foursome. Another thing that went down was Chael Sonnen. He had his Submission Underground grappling tournament or event. Jake Shields had beaten somebody, and then him and AJ Agazarm got into a little bit of drama there. If you like, if since we're on the topic of people getting slapped, check it out. It looks like they've also promoted themselves for, some grappling again down the road. And Chael and Eddie Bravo do well with this, so there is an audience out there for it. I don't catch all of them, but there have been some that have been built up nicely, especially like just Hoyler and Eddie Bravo Part 2.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was big back in the day. So who knows? Metamoris, of course, started this off a few years ago. They ran into some problems, and the Abu Dhabi tournament's always been prestigious.
So she got these older fighters talking about making the transition,
Brazilian
right?
Jiu-Jitsu championships, yeah. It gives avenues to the ones that are in a little bit of trouble, with USADA.
Yeah.
But there's just others that will pay a good buck to watch some 8 grappling matches.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
If you're into that, check it out on the front page. You'll see Chael Sonnen trying to play the mediator and getting in between Jake Shields and AJ Agazarm. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing his name right. How about this? A coach, and I haven't read the article, but I like this. Slumping Kaylin Curran should go to Invicta FC, but it's not that simple.
We were talking about her this morning.
But does Invicta FC want to be known as like a AAA? Remember when Yasuel Puig had some problems with the Dodgers, and they said, well, we'll go back to AAA and get your game back, get your groove back like Stella, and then come back? I don't know if Invicta wants that. When I was trying to put together the flyweight standings, Invicta had a couple representatives there. I believe next week those will get published. I know a few of you had some questions on that. But so Invicta very well could say, wait a minute, we're still here and we still got, some top fighters out here. But, the UFC kind of came in and they raided a bunch of divisions. And now I believe, I don't know if Invicta goes atomweight still or if they do 155. But the big 4, which is strawweight, flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, I mean, the UFC's got it going on. I gotta imagine the Invicta fighters that can fight and do well, they're gonna want to eventually come over.
I think they should just have a stance, kind of like Titan. We're just not holding anybody back, but at the same time, we're here and we're doing our thing. And who cares, right? I mean,
I hope
at the end
that
of
was
the day,
lucrative for Shannon Knapp, because she had it going on for a while, and then all of a sudden it's just
I'm
not
sure
there.
they took care of her somehow. But if you put together a fight that people want to see, people will tune in, right? Just look at it that way.
Yeah. And the latest rankings did come out. They were published yesterday. You'll see them in the paper today. If you still ever get your hands on a USA Today copy. Tuesday's a great day for high school sports. Mater Dei is probably in there somewhere. Then the #1 ranked team in high school football. But on Wednesday, we publish our MMA rankings. We only go 10 deep there. But if you want to see the top 15 for USA Today Sports /MMA Junkie, click on that story. Some big moves there in pound for pound. And in a few of the divisions, Francis Ngannou leading that charge. Felice Herrig back to being a ranked fighter. Strawweight's deep, guys.
Yeah.
When is the Mater Dei game with De La Salle?
It's December 16th in Sacramento.
In Sacramento?
Why do you ask, Goes?
I want to watch it.
Yeah. Expect us to win by at least 3 touchdowns.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I want to watch a game like
that
that.
between you and Joey?
There should be. Joey Varner. We need to get him on. I got tagged into a post. Juan Ramirez, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't responded to it yet because I fainted just because I had nothing to do with a Michael Jordan crying meme. And then when I woke up, I forgot what I was doing. But yeah, originally Juan Ramirez, I believe, tagged Joey Varner and myself, and Joey would like to come back and do the show, and I'd love to have him back on. Have you talked to him lately?
The last time I talked to him, he, I believe, is doing Pawn Stars again. So he had told me his schedule's just kind of booked up for like the next 3 months, but that 3 months might have gone by. I don't know.
I miss Joey.
Yeah, Joey's awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to have him back. We got tagged in another one, too. I think that might have been the rankings one. All right, let's take a break. We got to do that first. When we come back, we'll start off with a phone call. Nah, let's get Jersey Mike down there.
Yeah,
now.
might as well.
He's been waiting. We can fall behind a little bit. Jersey Mike, what's up, buddy?
Hey.
Hi.
How you doing?
Jersey. You okay, Mike?
Hey,
Are
Mike.
you Jersey Mike or Basement Mike? Can barely hear you, buddy.
Can you hear me?
Now
Oh,
we can hear you, yeah.
We can.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to call out Showtime because yesterday he was all over Holloway's nuts and calling Frankie Edgar Little Frankie. But when was the last time Frankie Edgar fought somebody where he was the bigger, imposing fighter in the fight?
Great.
You know what? Faber. I actually happened to come across some video, and probably Faber was the last guy who was either his size or maybe even an inch or two shorter.
Yeah, well, I think Frankie really is a 35er, and he's lost to 3 fucking guys his whole career. 3 guys. And everybody sits there and calls him Little Frankie. And I mean, I just feel like the guy doesn't get enough respect. Everybody's sick of seeing him in title fights. But I really do think he's earned it, you know?
Can anybody name the 3 guys he's lost to?
Frankie?
Yeah.
Aldo, close splits to Benson, and then the first fight to Gray Maynard, which was a decision at altitude there early in his career. And I will say, you know, I'm super high on Holloway like everybody else is, but I'm also one to say that, man, Frankie is still the question for Holloway stylistically, competition-wise, many ways you cut it. Frankie presents all those answers, so he is, in fact, I would argue, a more important player now than ever. To kind of sentiment what Jersey Mike's saying.
Well, and Aldo really needs Frankie to win, or he's just isolated for a while. He's going to have to go on the tour of fighting the Ortegas and Swansons and Lamases of the world. And you know him, he likes to be in that title fight, but that's how big that fight was. And he went out there and he fought valiantly. He threw some bombs. It's like he went out on his shield. But that's a big fight for Aldo, and as well as Frankie Edgar. And I believe that A. Mendez from 2 years ago with a full camp was as dangerous as they got.
Yeah.
I mean, he gave Aldo hell, in that second fight.
Mm-hmm.
But that was kind of a little bit of his kryptonite. And then, of course, he ran into McGregor, and then he ran into USADA. But who knows, when he comes back, he could possibly have a little bit of those attributes of what may trouble Holloway. But, 2 years is a long time, and plus I don't know that he just walks into a title shot. So I think Holloway right now his focus is Edgar, and then after that a few title defenses, and then I don't know what happens. But man, that guy's a budding superstar, and who knows? Maybe he may be able to dabble with 55, for a bit as well. All right, Jersey Mike, thanks for the call, man. Let's take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We'll keep taking calls, 866-522-2846, but we're also going to talk to Rashad Evans.
They pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been, and because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Help SiriusXM in the fight to end hunger. Support Why Hunger's annual Hungerthon by visiting SiriusXM.com/Hungerthon. To bid on items like the opportunity to spend a day at an NFL training camp with the SiriusXM NFL radio crew. You can also make a donation and receive a free gift like a Bruce Springsteen Land of Hope and Dreams t-shirt and more. All right, our next guest is Rashad Evans, former light heavyweight champion in the UFC. And this weekend he'll be wearing the hat of an analyst as he'll be working the Fox desk pre and post fight for UFC Fight Night 123, which takes place on Saturday in Fresno, California. Let me line things up for you. Things start off on Saturday with the UFC Fight Pass at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and then they move over to Fox Sports 1 at 8 p.m. Eastern, where you'll get 10 fights, one right after the other, until we get to the main event of Cub Swanson versus Brian Ortega. Joining us now is Rashad Evans. What's up, Rashad? How you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Good, man. Thanks for joining us again here on MMA Junkie Radio. It's always a pleasure, sir. All right, so this weekend in Fresno, what do you think the fighters are feeling after these stellar cards? And I'm talking about New York, Norfolk, Detroit. Has there ever been pressure like on a group of 24 or 26 athletes to just kind of keep that hustle going, like that their colleagues set?
Yeah, it definitely is, and they're going to feel it. The UFC top brass are going to go in there in the pre-fight meetings, and they're going to let the fighters know that, you guys have a lot to live up to because of the past UFCs within the last few weeks have been amazing. And, they're starting to set that as a standard. I don't know what's getting into these fighters, but I like it.
Yeah, man, that was a great card out in Detroit. And now I'm pumped for this one out in Fresno. All right, and so I wanted to ask you about one of the fights on the prelims, Liz Carmouche and Alexis Davis. We don't have to necessarily talk too much about X's and O's, but what I want to know is when two fighters are dropping, like these two young ladies are, they're going from bantamweight to flyweight. As a fighter who's recently done that, does it become more about just the familiarity of, the new engine, 10 pounds less, the weight cut, and less about the fight itself?
Well, if you do it right, it shouldn't be about the weight cut. If you do it wrong, then it should be about the weight cut. But typically speaking, you want to. The way I did it was I did a hard weight cut, kind of like in the beginning of weight camp, beginning of training camp. So that way during camp, I wasn't worrying about my weight, and I got it at a good weight. So then during training camp, I could just train normal and focus on technique. You see some fighters, they just train normally and then don't worry about the weight cut until it's actually a couple weeks before the fight, which is a problem because if you're not used to actually doing anything at that weight cut, you make the weight and then you're going to be exhausted once you start moving around like you think you normally can move.
Right. All right. Jumping around here a little bit, Marlon Moraes is taking on Aljamain Sterling in the featured bout on the main card. He's coming off a win. A few weeks before that, Michael Bisping had fought in New York and took a fight in China. He was coming off a loss. Does it matter that they were coming off a loss and a win? So are these cases different, or do you support fighters that just do these turnaround fights at the highest level, which is the UFC?
It all depends. I think each case is different. Some cases is like, yeah, you know what, you might as well keep the party going and do another fight. But some of them, they should, health-wise and everything, decide to take some time off to not compete and let their body heal. When the hardest part is not so much just the fight, it's the training camp as well too. So they will save their body by maybe not having a training camp or doing a quick turnaround, but at the same time, their body's still recovering from whatever they took in the fight. And sometimes when you take it, some good damage in a fight, it takes longer than a week or two to heal up some of those injuries, especially when it's a knockout or something neurological like that.
Mm-hmm. That's a big fight in the bantamweight division, and the bantamweight division's got a big spotlight on it. You know, TJ and Cody got down a few months ago. Marlon got a big fight, a big win in Norfolk, as did Lineker. Lineker's already taken Cruz's spot, and he's fighting Rivera. You know, Rivera's a highly ranked guy. Yeah, so there's some really, really big names throwing down in the 35-pound division. As a big guy, you got to do
it. Like if you got the momentum on your side and you feel it, you got to go. I mean,
right.
The flip side of it is this right here. You know, it's a fight business, and what we do is hard and it's rough. And if you can get a chance to make some money and do what you got to do and get yourself further down a road as far as financially being taken care of, then you got to do what you have to do, because you can get injured and be out on the sideline for years in the fight business, or you can get cut. So you got to get the money struck while the iron's hot.
Were you always a fan of the lighter weight classes, or did it take you to warm up to it? And the reason I ask is I know that a lot of the bigger athletes like yourself, a former light heavyweight champ, you always feel like, man, but in our weight class, all it takes is one punch with these 4-ounce gloves. And then I've noticed others just have an appreciation for the lighter weight classes from beginning to end, because they do so much out there, endless cardio, all that stuff.
Yeah, I always liked little guys. You know, some of my training partners were little guys, and I always wanted to move like a little guy. So I was always fascinated with the little guys, how they move, how fast they were. Sometimes I even spar some of the little guys just to kind of emulate some of their speed, or just get used to just fighting at that pace and at that timing and speed and stuff like that. So I'm a big fan of the little guys, man. They get down.
Former light heavyweight champion Rashad Evans joins us here on MMA Junkie Radio. He'll be working the Fox desk this weekend, pre- and post-fight for UFC Fight Night 123 in Fresno, California, which has a main event of Cub Swanson and Brian Ortega. Fox Sports 1 has you covered on Saturday night for the fights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, with the prelims, and then the main card, same channel, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. They just continue and roll on through. All right, Goes, what do you have for Rashad Evans?
Rashad, in the case of the main event, you have Cub Swanson, an established veteran, and you have Brian Ortega, an undefeated fighter. In the case of Cub Swanson, you see a guy who's kind of fought the guys at the top, right? Max Holloway, Jose Aldo, Frankie Edgar. He's faced a lot of these guys. And Brian Ortega would almost bring a new life and a little bit of fresh matchups. In those scenarios where sometimes the fans and even the fighters will think, wait a minute, are they serving me up to this guy? Could you see a guy like Cub Swanson maybe carrying a chip on his shoulder because of the situation that he's in right now?
Absolutely. I definitely think that Cub has a big chip on his shoulder, and rightfully so. He feels he was passed over for a UFC championship belt, and he feels like the wins that he has hasn't really earned him the respect from the UFC brass, the one who make the choice of who gets a fight. But the way I see it, I kind of see things a little bit different than Cub, and I'm kind of happy the fact that he didn't get the title shot, being the fact that if he got title shot and he would have lost the title shot, I would have thought, what if he would have had a full camp, so him not getting the fight eliminates that. People, there's going to be no, he did good, but he didn't have a full training camp. You want to take on a Max Holloway with the full training camp, with everything that you can. This guy Max on a different level. So I think that Cub lucked out by not taking him at a short camp. But at the same time, I do still see why he would get upset about that.
Well, Rashad, let me respectfully just ask you this. The fight's only a week later, and he was training for a 5-round fight himself, because even though it's not a title fight, UFC main events go 5 rounds. Are you saying that 1 week could have made that difference you're talking about?
I think so. And here's why. It is a week earlier, but the timing of conditioning and everything else like that all matters. That all matters. And then mentally even getting yourself into the headspace. Like, okay, well, now I got to compete for a title. Well, before I was just competing against a good up and coming guy. So could he get himself up for it? I'm sure he would have been able to get himself up for it. But would it have been the best Cub Swanson? I don't know. You know, I don't think it would be. I would like to still think that Cub Swanson, who is mentally have his mindset on fighting Max Holloway from the beginning of training camp, is a lot better than the Max Holloway who only got a short notice to let him know he was fighting Max with just 3 weeks to get ready.
Right, no, I completely agree with that. What I was telling people was exactly the same thing. If you believe you're the best, then you have to believe that eventually you're gonna get that shot. And hell, if on top of everything you could add a little mileage, and that mileage being a guy like Jose Aldo, I'm all for it. Give Cub that full training camp, because it'll be his last opportunity at it, right? Because if he loses now, he's got 2 against.
And that's exactly it. And that's the only reason why I know it's a week later. But when you're a Cub Swanson and you fought as long as you have fought, and you know you've never been in a position to get a title shot, you should know that the title shots are not coming by too often. So you have to make sure you maximize every single chance you get to fight for the belt. And I think that, you know, waiting to get that call is better than just answering the phone and getting a call without expecting it.
Rashad, now there are a lot of little intangibles when it comes to Cub Swanson, and this one I think maybe you could relate to. Cub is a new father, and he just had a baby. And sometimes we'll have fighters come in the studio and they'll say, look, being a dad kind of changed me a little bit. Other fighters will say, hey, business as usual. You've been in that same situation. What does being a father do to a fighter?
You know, life is all about perspective, and being a father, you know, it does that for you, and especially for a man. When a woman feels her connection with the baby, it's in the womb. You know, it's when the baby's growing inside of her, and she established her relationship right there. But for a man, it's different. You know, for a man, it's when we see the baby, when we get to hold the baby, and it's usually right when the baby comes. You know, when the baby comes out, we kind of something just goes off, and like, okay, now everything counts from here on out. It really, really counts. And you really want to tighten up your ship, and you really want to make sure that you're doing everything that you can to maximize every opportunity for the better of the whole family. Because now you know that you just added one more to your family, which you got to take care of.
You know, Rashad, speaking of perspective, but still kind of changing gears, I like that you said earlier that you admire the small guys, because when I look back at your style, I always put you right up there with the George St. Pierre's as far as champions and fighters who were ahead of that transition game, putting all the pieces together. So let me ask you, being one of those guys, or at least that me and many think, stepping over into the analyst role, was it an easier jump for you than maybe most, or are you still learning a cavalcade of new information with the new digs?
I think it was. I feel like it was easier for me, but there are still some challenges that come along with the whole analyst part that I still get challenged with today, and that's why it keeps my attention for like it does. I started out with ESPN back in the day when they had the MMA Live show with Kieran Portley, and it's a lot different than it is right now, just as far as, the support that we get. Back in the day, ESPN really, really wasn't trying to support it, but Fox is on board, and Fox has really, really, done such an amazing job with the UFC, and they put it on the standards of the Fox NFL, which is, the highest level when it comes to their show. So the UFC has to be on that level too, and it's tough. It's tough because every time you open your mouth and say something, it doesn't always sound right. But you got to find a way to, no matter what comes out of your mouth, you got to make it work, and you got to flow. And you have to know what you're talking about, or people are going to call you out, and you're going to feel stupid.
Right. And speaking of all these lessons learned and the perspective of your career now looking back, I guess just humor me for a second. Let's hop into the time machine. Let's go back 10 years. You just came off your Bisping win. You're in between your Bisping win and heading into the Chuck fight at UFC 88. What advice would Rashad Evans, or right now at 38 years old, give the Rashad Evans of 28 years old?
I would tell myself to enjoy it. That's one thing I can say about the early young Rashad. I didn't enjoy it as much as I feel like I really should have. And, part of the reason why I didn't enjoy it is because, I was too busy trying to figure out on what I should do or how it should be or how it should look instead of just being, instead of just letting it be and just enjoying it for what it was. It was a really special time, and the sport was changing so fast. I was changing so fast, and if I could have just sat back and just enjoyed it and watched a little bit more, I would have liked it a little bit better. But it just kind of went too fast, and then part of it is because I just didn't enjoy it enough.
I'll close with this. Thank you again for the time, Rashad. We look forward to your work on Fox Sports this weekend for UFC Fight Night 123. But we'll close with this because you're still an active fighter. We heard you're dropping to light heavyweight. So I want to know who you're fighting next. What is the 38-year-old Rashad, going to tell the gorgeous George, 48-year-old, the answer to that question? Who you fight next?
I wish I knew. I really did. Maybe you can help me. You know what? That's what we'll do. Maybe we'll you guys will help me pick my next fight. 'Cause I really don't know, to be honest. I just been, I'm moving back up to weight class. I'm on a 4-fight losing streak, and I'm looking to bounce back in a big way, and I have to bounce back in a big way, competitively speaking, but just more or less, for myself. And I don't know who that person is going to be, but truthfully speaking, after what I've been through the last few years, it really doesn't even matter to me anymore. And I just want to go and just get back to my winning ways more than anything. And I'm hungry, I'm desperate, and I'm ready for whoever.
I got a fight for you. You want to hear it?
Let's hear it.
Yeah. You versus Jimmy Manuwa in London. Now, Jimmy's going to say, well, he hasn't been in the division for a while.
I thought he retired. Did he retire or no?
Jimmy Manuwa?
Oh, no. Jimmy didn't retire. No, I forgot. That's right. Not Jimmy Manuwa. I was thinking about Tua. That's what I was thinking about. They remind me of each other. I don't know why.
Who? Who's he thinking of?
Tua?
Who's Tula?
Tua and Manuwa remind me of each other. I don't know why. They don't really look alike.
Who's
There's
Tua?
some reason in my mind
The New Zealand cat.
together.
He had tattoos. Tahuna, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah,
James Tahuna? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Tahuna.
Yeah.
Tahuna.
All right. Well, good thing this guy isn't looking at a lineup, right? Oh, that guy did it. no, but I got to get that shot in. All right. So, but what do you think of you and Manuel? Because he's coming off a loss, but you're a big name. You see what I'm saying? So you can kind of help carry London, whether or not Bisping's there or not. What do you think of that matchup?
I think that'd be great. When is the London card? See, I don't know when the London card is.
March.
That's even better, yeah.
All right. It's done.
Wow.
He likes it. Thanks for the time, Rashad. We appreciate it. Break a leg this weekend on the Fox Sports Desk. We'll be tuning in. We can't wait for this card.
All right. Hey, I'm going to give you my Twitter information so that way you can start sending some insulting tweets to Manuel off my account, all right?
All right, brother. You got it. Take care, my man.
All right.
All right. We'll see you.
All right. I'll talk to you.
Later. Shout out to John Stauffer for lining that one up. We're going to take our last break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 83, and that was the former light heavyweight champion of the world, Rashad Evans.
They can drink Mentos-flavored Diet Coke without their stomachs giving a single fuck. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
All right, we're back. Kind of pressed up here against the top of the hour, so we'll just keep the music flowing here. I think this is Katrina and the Waves. I once saw them at Hollywood Park.
You did?
Them and Wham was the main event. Wham, seriously, with George Michael
awesome.
And Andrew Ridgely. Folks, you know, we did it again. We rolled up against the hour, so it's just kind of like a little continuous break. Go, you know, warm up some breakfast or whatever, or some lunch, wherever you're at. East Coast, West Coast, don't matter. We'll be right back in about 15 seconds. 866-522-2846. And don't forget, at the bottom of the hour, Rachel Ostovich from Top 26. Stay close. It's MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM, Rush 93.
in an 80s movie, this is like a couple training for a dance competition.
You know what? I want to keep it going because there's this little part where he just goes. It sounds like when I do Oaklers. So I'm hanging in there. Let's hang in there for a second. It might take a while though, but. It's quick. You got to catch it.
Oaklers.
Are you gonna do it? She wants to multiply. Are you gonna do it? I know you won't be satisfied until you do it. Feel the heat pushing you to decide. Feel the heat burning you up, ready or not. Some like it's hot and some sweat when the
It's coming up.
Sure it is.
Some feel the heat and decide that they can't go on. Some like it hot, but you can't tell how hot till you try. Some like it hot, so let's turn up the heat till we fry.
What the fuck? When's it coming up? Did Danny get him live in concert again?
This is 100% not live.
Anybody that's under 40 is dying right now. But fuck it, we're all in at this point, right?
Yeah. There's a minute and a half left.
Could this be a good walkout song?
Sort of.
Carl Parisian, Feel the Heat.
He's got the gold chain for it.
The bass is there. But you don't really say that in a fight. Something like it hot, you know?
Yeah. Isn't that a Jack Lemmon movie?
I think it's coming up right now.
That was it. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Jesus, so random.
That was worth it. All right, it's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Gulkers. And we get carried away from time to time. Sorry about that. But as was pointed out in an email I got, you know, sometimes when you guys just break away and do shit, we dig it. So I'm just going to actually read this email that I got. That was really cool. He didn't phrase it like that, but this is what was said. Good morning, George. Just want to let you know that I was listening to the replay of this morning, and it was great. The Max Holloway interview was great as always, but my personal highlight was Jeff Hood from JBLE. I, growing up in a military family, am truly partial to any type of military talk. Thank you for that. Yes, you guys are an MMA show, but it's good to break it up every now and then. Have a great day. Hope your knee is healing good. Tell Goes I said what's up. Thanks for your time, Chris. Are we supposed to say the last names? I can't remember if it's cool to say it or not.
I would say
I'm just gonna say it until someone actually hands me a lawsuit. You shouldn't have said my name on the radio.
I don't think it's that. I think it's like, hey, my boss was
oh, okay. Well, we're just gonna roll the dice. Chris Larravie. So thank you for that. That was really a cool message to get. It's just feedback, you know. And now I add you to our list of listeners that we have, in case we ever get around to a newsletter. I'll always fire back. Sometimes it takes me 3 years. Sometimes I'll do it within 3 hours. But thank you. That was a cool message. Yes, we did drift off, but it was interesting. You know, Jeff Hood, Savannah Sellers, they were here from JBLE, so we enjoyed talking to them. But again, that feedback, the reviews we get on iTunes, which I'm backed up, and I got some more to share. You know, we love reading those. So anyway, thanks again for that message, and yeah, that's what inspired me to just go, the hell with it. Let's listen to this whole song here. I think it was Power Station, and it's two guys from Duran Duran and two guys from another band. They actually call themselves Power Station.
Can you name another band like that from that same era?
Yes, I believe.
Oh man, when he's that confident, I don't like it.
First of all, let me see if I can straighten this one out. That singer right there is obviously not Simon Le Bon, but they brought over 2 guys from Duran Duran, and that is Robert, not Robert Plant, but Robert. Oh, I'm fucking it up. Okay, the other one you might be thinking of is oh yeah. Pet Shop Boys did a collaboration with New Order.
Yeah.
What was that band's name?
Electronic.
Electronic. That's right. Danny, do you know the answer to this question? Who's in that Power Station band?
There's no way.
I have no idea. This was a ghost.
Was that the first time you heard that song, by the way?
Absolutely.
Did you like it?
That's the first time you ever heard that song? Not even
from
like
1985.
I know, but it's been like in movies, right, and stuff like that.
A little bit.
Places I work would play it overhead.
Oh, Robert Palmer. Okay, it was Robert Palmer and former Chick drummer Tony Thompson. I've never heard of Chick.
Tony
and
Thompson.
Duran members John Taylor, Andy Taylor. So yeah, Robert Palmer was the lead singer there. Cool song. I like it.
Yeah.
Where were we? Oh, thank you to Chris Larrabee. And we can take calls, 866-522-2846, or we can discuss the latest news in mixed martial arts. You know, 2-time Olympic champion Clarissa Shields rates UFC champ Chris Cyborg's boxing a solid 7. You know what I did when I read that? This is no slight at Mike Bond and Fernando Prates, who wrote it, but me, I just went, meh. And here's why. During this past summer, I heard so many experts in MMA and boxing talk about how Conor had a chance to outbox Floyd Mayweather. That
to knock him out, not outbox him, right? Or were there maniacs that actually said that?
No, you are right. You are right. Yeah. To win the fight via knockout, and it was the certainty that they said it. A few guys get a pass, like Dana, because he's a promoter. At some point, I wish Dana would have said, look, I may be the craziest guy in the world. I am the promoter. I'm supposed to say this, blah, blah, blah. But he never once said, he just stuck to it. But there were a lot of other people that actually thought it, and I don't know that they've had to pay the price for the ridiculousness of
Orlando
that.
Did.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
John Orlando did pay. You're right. He did pay.
Severely.
But others were out there just saying, yeah, this, that. Now this, on top of Floyd Mayweather. Have you heard Floyd Mayweather finally admitting, I carried Conor McGregor? That does happen in boxing, by the way, where a fighter will just basically drag the fight out a little bit more. Sometimes they want to set up a part 2, or sometimes they just want to give the fans a little bit more. Now, in Floyd's case, Floyd's not really a knockout artist per se. I don't think he's just got the huevos to go out there and go, I'm putting him out in round 2. Because that's one thing he doesn't like to do is firefight either. And Conor, probably through about 4 rounds, still had a lot of power. You know, I think was it an uppercut? I think he caught Floyd with once.
Yep.
Yeah. So Floyd's smart, and Floyd knew. Look, past 4, past 6, the other guy's going to diminish. I'm going to exploit him. Plus, I like that feeling out process. So it's not like Floyd, by carrying him, didn't do what he normally does. You know, he starches people between the first and second round like Tyson did back in the day. Nah. So take it easy there, Floyd. We get what you were saying, but also don't go on the other end of what the Conor people were saying. You know, don't become that guy either. And just, you know, we kind of get it. A few rounds, you gave him, but that's your strategy to figure a guy out, and then you come in and do your thing.
I was thinking about what it would look like in a street fight, because some people were saying, well, you know, he's still got to engage him on the feet. But I think if Conor were smart, he'd probably just leg kick the shit out of him, right? Stay at a distance.
No, it's funny.
And
so
after a while, you know, you get a Floyd Mayweather.
If it's one of those like Kimbo and Masvidal, hey, we're gonna meet here at 3:30. Bring your guys. I'll bring my guys in the camera. The winner walks away with $5 grand. Okay, if they're starting off like that and they're moving, yes, I see Conor probably throwing some leg kicks.
Doesn't even take that many.
And at some point, you know, probably just getting his hands on him and taking him to the ground, and that's it. You know, I don't know that he's just sitting there throwing. I really don't feel that, but I think the kicks would come into play for sure. But if it's the type where they're in a club and they bump into each other and they have words, then Conor, I believe, is headbutting. You know what I mean? I think he's headbutting and then kicking, and it's a little bit more of that nasty feel. Whereas with Kimbo and Masvidal, it was a little bit more of a dressed-up street fight. So whatever you're thinking, whatever you're talking about, I just see different things playing out, but I still see the same result.
I agree with you what you said on the Cyborg thing, but though back to that. Though I will say,
because what else is she gonna say, right? She's in camp with her. She's getting paid by her, so it's great. It's traffic for us, but that's the part where I'm a little bit like, yeah, we get it, man. You're with her, and that's what you got to say. Sorry, Dan, I cut you off.
Oh no. I was just gonna say, for what it's worth, not to God, open up this door and go down this hypothetical one again, but I would say that I would back Cyborg to do better against female contemporaries, top ranked or not in boxing, than Connor to do against his male contemporaries, for what that's worth. I mean, not that that's what that's what her comment translates into, but just thinking out loud when you're saying these things, I'm thinking in my own head. I would still fare, Cyborg's chance better. She's kind of a little more head over heels above her competition. I think we could all comfortably say, right, athletically.
Now I will say this. People are going to launch scuds at me, and they're going to say, bitch, you just interviewed Dewey Cooper, and you were setting him up for that big quote about boxing. In a way I was, but I'll tell you why. Because I've just never seen anyone like that can throw paws like that dude, you know? And so now we're talking about heavyweights, and him versus Anthony Joshua. Yeah, he'd get outboxed. Yeah, he'd probably lose the first fight, and yeah, he'd probably lose like 20 out of 20. But I do believe when you get to that size, there may be that 19 out of 20 versus where I felt Conor was more around 999 out of 1,000 just because of Floyd's style. But Joshua likes to throw hands. The other guy that likes to throw hands. But see, these ladies here, I believe that in a boxing match, Cyborg could not defeat Holm. It would take her quite a few fights to defeat Holm in a proper boxing match. In Ngannou in a proper boxing match, he's just got that intangible of 100% the power.
Even with those gloves.
Yeah. Jeez. All right, let's talk to Showtime from Tennessee. He's one of our callers out of Chattanooga. What's up, Showtime? It's your time.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Not much, and you?
Hey, Gigi, you get the award of the year for always gassing somebody up, man. Man, Rashad don't need to mess with that dude, man. Come on, man.
Mess with Manuel?
I message goes. Yeah, I message goes like, come on, man. Tell GG to pipe it down. Let's give Rashad a good fight. Let's give him a fight.
Who would you give him?
He got a chance. And let's not give him somebody that might knock him out again, man.
But who would you give him, though?
Not Jimmy. Jimmy pissed right now, too.
So not Jimmy. So you'd give him Scrappy Doo, Roseanne Barr, Matt from the Sportsbook. I mean, that's a big list. Get more specific here. Who would you give him?
Give him Matt from the Sportsbook. We need to give him somebody out of the top 10. Somebody out of the top 15 right now, man. We don't want to do that, man.
But that's not the way it works. Rashad's a big name no matter what, all right? And he's moving back to light heavyweight where he was a former champion. You know that they're going to promote that. I hate saying it this way when I do the interviews. I hate saying it's loser versus loser because they may interpret it as I just mean they're a loser overall. That's not what I mean. I mean they're coming off a loss versus someone that's coming off a loss. Now, Jimmy's only coming off one loss, but he is. So a lot of times that's what the matchmakers do is they put them together. Jimmy may actually dig it just because it would bring attention to him. He may feel like Rashad is past his prime, and therefore it's a good tune-up match. I don't know. I'm just thinking it's a home game for him. You see what I'm saying? So that's why we may be able to convince Jimmy into it. We may be able to convince Rashad because he wants something big. He's not going to go in there and go give you the 35th ranked UFC light heavyweight. He's definitely not going to go over a young gun that's got like Paulo Costa power or Ngannou power, because I just don't think he wants to get over, let someone, trample him like that. So I think it's just going to be someone that it has to be like a crafty veteran. Shogun's off a 3-fight winning streak. Nogueira is battling suspension problems. So those legends that are kind of like a legend like him, they're just not there for the taking, man. So I don't know. I'm thinking more of the matchmaker hat versus anything else.
What about a Machida rematch or something if he wants to go back up 205, not cut some weight?
Well, that's the key. Does he want to? And I don't think he does. I don't think he's publicly said that he wants to go back to light heavyweight. So, but yeah, that's good thinking if he were to make that announcement. But I don't know that he has. And at that time, when we're talking about what he should do, I mean, we got to cut pretty much, and start talking about what makes sense. But again, Showtime, who would you give him? You haven't given me a name.
I was just about to say Shogun, but you beat me to it.
Yeah, it's a 3-fight win streak.
I don't want to see him.
I don't think Shogun will do it.
Man, come on, man.
You think Shogun would do it? He's got a 3-fight win streak. He's in another boat. He wants to take maybe OSP, for example, who's actually been winning and they were slated to fight before. So it'd have to be someone maybe either Latifi. Is Latifi coming off a loss?
No, I think
he's coming off a win.
Who's the guy that OSP choked?
What's up?
Who's the guy that OSP choked?
knock him out too, man. I love
Corey
Rashad,
Anderson?
man.
Or no.
I don't want
Okami.
But see, those don't. These don't
Okami
make
choked
sense.
out Okami.
Oh,
like you look at Latifi, you look at Corey Anderson. They're in our rankings. They're in the honorable mention. But I'll take some of the heat too.
Anderson lost.
I
yeah,
showed
maybe
George. I showed him that matchup.
I was gonna say it either way.
And so I'll take some of the heat. But the reason I went with him was just because he's a big name. Like you can't just give him anyone. Like George said, he still sells. So I would imagine that's somebody that they would maybe look at somewhere there. You know that Jimmy likes to talk, and Rashad ain't shy. He may talk, so it just seems like the type of match that they would give him.
Yeah, it does seem like it.
Yeah. You know what? We just don't know which Rashad. If we see the Rashad that's going to come fight and not be so apprehensive, I wouldn't mind seeing the fight. But, man, it's almost like Rashad, he doubting himself right now, man. He doubt. I mean, even in the Dan Kelly fight, he doubting himself, man. Let the hands go. But I think sometimes, man, when you get hit, man, and you get gunshot, sometimes it's easier for us to say let them go. And we sitting there with a beer, you know, eating popcorn. It's easy to say let it go, but when somebody hitting you in your face, you know, sometimes it's hard, man.
Showtime, I know you're a big boxing fan. What do you think about that article? Where do you think Cyborg would do in boxing and her boxing skills?
You know what? This what I was gonna mention that too. Cyborg is such a dominant athlete. I was about to call you guys out. Think about how tough Holly was supposed to be boxing, but when she gets in there, these MMA girls are putting hands on Holly. Holly don't have power. Holly is basically precision, and you know, she's accurate with her punches, but she don't have a lot of power, man. So I could see it, somebody like Cyborg stopping her. I mean, seriously. I mean, I give Cyborg a shot with pretty much anybody with Clarissa. That's a whole different ballgame.
In boxing, you think she'd beat her in boxing, huh?
Yeah, in boxing. I wouldn't put her in there with Clarissa, but look at the chick that boxed from Bellator, the boxer that has all these belts, the sexy chick. I mean, I see chicks in there with her stand up, messing her up, standing up. Not even just say kicks or whatever, just with the stand up game. I just don't see that.
But we're saying in boxing, there's no kicks in boxing.
Yeah, mess with chicks with kicks,
in
man.
Boxing. I still bet my money on Cyborg. I think she'll stop her. Because I just don't. Holly doesn't have the power, man. If you watch her, she just don't have power, man. She's accurate, but no power. Yeah. If they box, I got 500 on it, GG. You and Gold spit it up too.
You know what? The next time you're here, bring that 500 here, and then we'll put it in for you over here at the Mandalay Bay.
Okay, I'm gonna be out there. I'll be out there for New Year's. I'm coming. I'm gonna be ready to get down, man. I'm just
leave us that money, and we'll put that play in for you. Oh wait, you're talking about MMA though. I'm saying if they were to ever box, if they were to ever box. Too bad Holly just said she won't box. You know, I think Holly has a shot against Cyborg in the MMA fight, but so do a lot of people. A gun to the head, I'm not so sure. You know, Cyborg's still pretty destructive force, so gun to the head, I may just leave it alone. But as far as like what the odds are telling me and the paths to victory, I think there's some there. I don't know. All right.
Yeah.
Man, now I want to see a Showtime Chicks with Kicks bet.
Hey, you know you got called out today, right, Showtime? Did you hear that earlier in the show?
Yeah. And I called. I wish I was trying to get you to tell him if he's so up on Frankie, I got 1,000 on Max. Tell him to bet.
But you gotta give him some kind of odds.
I got 1,000 on Max. Whenever they fight. Yeah, we can figure that out. But I got 1,000 on Max.
You think Max is the truth?
Man, Max is a stud, man. He said Frankie is like a little midget. He said I was calling Frankie small. Man, Frankie, I'm gonna tell you what Max gonna do. Max is gonna slap Frankie, and he's gonna hold Frankie, put his arm out and put it on Frankie's little head, and Frankie is gonna swing like on the little cartoons, and he's gonna be swinging in the air. That's what it's gonna be like. Max on another level right now, man. And I love Frankie, man. I love him to death, man. But he's too small, man. He's just too small. Just like how Conor. You know what? Max is the new Conor, but it'll fight anybody. How Conor used to just dominate them little dudes and just knock them out and just. It seemed like Conor would just touch them guys and they'll just fall. He'll barely graze their head and they'll lay down and go to sleep. And I can really see Max doing that right now. And Max is even more vicious than Conor because he doesn't get tired. That's the only way
That's a good
that I
point.
felt like Frankie would be able to beat a guy like Max, but Max don't get tired. So that cancels out the cardio.
Meanwhile, in New Jersey.
All right, thanks for the call, Showtime. Take care, buddy.
Easy, Showtime.
All right, guys.
All right, later. I'm not coming at Showtime, but I heard a similar argument. It was either on MMA Tonight or the Luke Thomas show. I was driving, I heard it, and I think it may have been a junkie listener as well, Dan from Oregon, and somebody was saying they were talking about Conor, and they said he beat Aldo, and then he just ran and avoided Edgar. Folks, he didn't really do that. How is it running when you're running towards Rafael Dos Anjos? He didn't know Dos Anjos was going to pull out. So he ran to a higher division against the guy that was beasting people. I mean, Dos Anjos was beasting people.
But nobody was calling for that fight.
Oh, no, I know that. But it wasn't like, fuck, I don't want a rematch all, because they were saying props to Holloway. He gave Aldo the rematch, an all-time great. Yeah. So Conor starched him quick, and that's why, when you start the champion pretty quick, that doesn't help the champion's that doesn't help his movement towards getting a rematch. But it wasn't like he was like, whoo, I got out of there. I'm getting away from Edgar. I'm taking on this cupcake. Rafael Dos Anjos, this is going to be easy compared to Edgar. Fuck no, man. That was going to be arguably a tougher fight. You know what I mean? Or the same. I'm not trying to put those two against each other. All I'm saying is sometimes think before you talk.
Yeah, and I will say, just to remind people of the timeline too, in defense of Conor. I know let's go back to 189. If that doesn't happen with Mendez and Aldo makes it to the dance, then his next fight would have been Frankie Edgar in December. Frankie wouldn't have fought Chad. He would have fought Conor, because Conor, not only did he not have the same leverage and status, Rafael Dos Anjos and lightweight was thoroughly booked. Cerrone and Dos Anjos was already booked for that end of the year, the card right after 194. Remember, so there was nothing Conor could even have really done if he tried to have gotten away from Edgar, and he was willing to face, according to his words, which we have to take him at, to face Edgar. So I agree. You look at the timeline. There wasn't. That's
probably the only time where I'd say, hey, now if you want to make a point, yes, when it was presented, Edgar versus Mendez. And if you want to make the argument, he took on Mendez. Mendez was hunting while the other guy was in shape. Okay, yeah, I guess that's somewhat of an argument to make, where he may have avoided Edgar. Now the documentary's out, and the documentary, you're watching it, and yes, I know there can be editing in it, but it didn't seem to me like a Conor that was too worried about anybody. But let's just say they said, cut the cameras. And then they say what they need to say, but in reality, when they cut the cameras, he said, hey, man, whatever, just don't give me Edgar, give me Mendez off 3 weeks because he's hunting and shit. Okay, yeah, I guess that's believable. But the whole thing that he was running from a rematch, avoiding Edgar, when you're running towards RDA, I don't buy it, man. RDA, I remember at one point thinking, ooh, that's going to be a tough guy to beat. He could wrestle. He's got great jiu-jitsu. He's striking like a motherfucker. You know what I mean? The Muay Thai was amazing. Yeah. He's not he hasn't been the same at 55, but then he went up to welterweight, and now he's doing well at welterweight. He's got fucking Lawler ahead of him for crying out loud. I don't think
he was running, but I think the word you used, avoiding. I think he was
avoiding Edgar.
Yeah, and you know what I think
to get to RDA though. Well, yeah, but at the same time,
man.
But at the same time, yeah, maybe he was avoiding goes. But again, he's running towards another challenge at a higher weight class, and the fact that this guy's all about making history and all that, I don't know, man. I have to side with Conor on that one.
Dos Anjos was that little point in his history was kind of like a come lately, right? We're all going, hey, who's this guy? All of a sudden, he's coming together.
Yeah.
As we're with Frankie, he's been solid since day one. You know what you have with Frankie Edgar, and Frankie Edgar is a little older, and if I am gonna fight him, let me put some mileage.
If I can break it down a little further, though,
and he got
somebody, it was either Showtime or Mike said, hell, he may even be a bantamweight, right?
Yes, yeah.
So he's technically running from what could be a bantamweight, but he's fighting at featherweight to get to a lightweight, who, by the way, now is a welterweight, 2-0, fighting Lawler. So again, leaving the smaller guy behind to fight to a guy that's, fighting, arguably 2 weight classes over, maybe 3, depending on how you look at it. When I feel like Conor is getting out of hand, I tend to give my opinion and say, Conor, shut the fuck up. whatever. But in this case, I remember how that went down. Before it got to Diaz, he actually wanted Dos Anjos. Dos Anjos is the one that broke his foot.
I think the root of this conversation, and really what should be the focus of this conversation is Frankie Edgar. The root of it is that it's not that Mike's shown jersey or this. I think we all feel sympathy for Frankie Edgar for the route that he's had to go through. So I think that's where a lot of this conversation is generated, and in which generates the finger pointing and the blaming Connor. And the two, I don't think we should be focusing so much on Connor as Frankie here, because again, he is the big question still for Max to answer. I mean, obviously Max, I love what he's doing, guys. Don't get me wrong, but let's not pretend that Frankie, is not a threat. So I definitely get the sentiment of the conversation here, but I think a lot of it just kind of roots back to you look at Frankie's trajectory, and this is the chicken before the egg. Was Connor running, or was it offered? Did the fighter ask for it? Did the UFC offer? We don't know these things, but let's not look at Connor. Let's look at Frankie. How's the UFC treated Frankie? Go to something Go said earlier about serving up. Remember the Cub Swanson Frankie Edgar fight? It didn't feel like they were making Frankie Edgar. That felt like they were promoting Cub. Cub was on the winning streak. Cub had some dialogue with Connor at the time. Remember, guys?
Yeah.
So
the Chad Mendes fight.
Yeah,
Why would you take two guys that are pretty close up there and match them up?
Exactly. It always felt like. So this is where I'll kind of give credence to what George is saying, that Connor wasn't running. This might be more on the UFC side and their relationship with Frankie than Connor's relationship with Frankie. You know what I'm saying? Because let's look at the facts and how Frankie's kind of been treated and the hurdles that he's had to go through. So I understand the sentiment. I guess long-winded.
All right, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. We got to take a break, but when we come back, we'll be talking to Rachel Ostovich, who was featured in The Ultimate Fighter Season 26, where they were going to crown a champion, and they did. They did it this past Friday. Congratulations again to Nico Montano. Now, on that same card, the Top 26 finale, Rachel Ostovich got herself a first-round submission. We'll talk to her about that. We'll talk to her about the season. We'll talk about what might be next for her when we come back after this break. Stay close.
see this.
Unconceivable, unbelievable, grammar like a hammer, information receivable, sent by the Lord, here and abroad with word.
Hey, idiot! Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
SiriusXM wants you to turn on the joy this holiday season with your chance to win a trip for one of 4 all-star sporting experiences. The 2018 Pro Bowl in Orlando, the Honda NHL All-Star Game in Tampa, the NBA All-Star Game in Los Angeles, or the MLB All-Star Game in our nation's capital. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/all-star-trip. Do this before January 2nd, 2018. No additional purchase is necessary to enter or to win. This sweepstake is not sponsored, administered, produced, or executed by either the NHL entities, the NBA entities, the MLB entities, or the NFL entities. All right, we are waiting for Rachel Ostovich to call in. In the meantime, we can take some calls or continue covering the latest news. Dan, what you said right as we were coming break, is that official news?
What's that?
Something about GSP?
Yeah, he was quoted from an interview, so everybody's kind of running with the quote. Yeah.
What'd he say? What'd he say?
The not sure is what's being quoted, so essentially it sounds like everything anybody at least in the know would have already imagined. So I'm guessing he's slowly verbalizing it in his very, very polite fashion. So I haven't watched the interview, but I'm guessing that's what it is. It's just
so this was covered the other day when we went to the UFC headquarters. Dana was addressing, I believe, weight cutting. I'm not sure if we were talking Habib or if we were talking Bisping and went from TBI to weight cutting or what. But what he did say is, I can't force somebody to fight at a weight class that they don't want to. Now later on, we started going into other issues, which was GSP, McGregor, some of the other big names. And during that time, he specified that GSP told him he would fight at middleweight and defend at middleweight. It was actually, that clause was inserted into the contract. And if you'll notice, we had great traffic out of a recap that we did where we basically quoted Dana White, how disappointed, and I think he'd be pissed if GSP didn't do it. I think that was part of selling the case to make the Bisping fight. So now what happens? He's kind of caught between those two. Well, a man at his word and what he's going to do, holding up the division, because really that could have been someone else's spot just to make this fight versus the safety of the fighters. I mean, if a fighter's telling you, hey, I fought at 70 all my life, I just went up there and tested 85, and Bisping's not even the hardest hitter at 85, but he got hit by Bisping and felt like he got cracked. So for the safety and welfare, maybe it makes more sense to bring him back down to 170, Now, I would imagine that means either an instant shot at Woodley, I don't know, but if he does get an instant shot at Woodley, not that I have a problem with it. It's just he's kind of running interference on 2 divisions. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, he may get away with it because he's a pay-per-view draw. He's been a company man. He's a good guy. He actually may get away with it, and that's something that, again, that's why the promoter has to be nasty and beef with these guys publicly, because all those guys are their own brands, they're their own businesses, and they're looking out for themselves. They're looking out for me, and that's why Dana White has to sort these guys out from time and call them out and do this, and he takes a lot of heat, and honestly, he doesn't give a shit about the heat, all right, because he's cashing big checks and he's growing his company, so he doesn't care about that. If you think you're actually pissing him off, no, man, he just gave you time out of his day, out of his halfway to billionaire day to engage you, but really he could give 2 craps about whatever it is you're hammering away at him. Call him whatever names you want, it doesn't matter. He's growing a business. But that's why he does have to get a little nasty, because these fighters will do that. Now, let's just say he were to fight Woodley. Woodley would get his big payday. Congrats to Woodley. GSP would have a chance for even more history. Oh, wow, a comeback in 2 divisions. But again, the ones that are getting fucked are other middleweights and other light heavy or welterweights. Mostly the ones that are in that high pecking order. What do I think of it? I'll get over it. I feel bad for those involved, but I'll definitely get over it. I know it's good business for Junkie Radio, the UFC, the fighters that were involved. So once the fight happens, we'll support it. But, this is our moment to vent and just go, man, that's fucked up.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of explains my attitude.
Fucked up for the winner of RDA and Lawler. Fucked up for Colby, who's trying to do his thing. Usman, who's right behind Colby, and it sets them back 6 months to possibly a year in what their dreams were. Dan?
No, and then that encapsulates why it's not. I'm not a GSP or Connor hater. Believe me, I love these guys as fighters, but the fact that you're clogging up. GSP alone, George just outlined welterweight and middleweight. Then you add in Connor, and that can, we don't think he's going back to featherweight, but his reach goes from featherweight to arguably welterweight, maybe even middleweight if you really want to get crazy. And it's just these are such competitive divisions. There's such good guys to get behind that are in there fighting, and yeah, so it's really tough to see these things. And I think this guy's kind of just circling it back. About GSP, I think it would have been better if you would have been honest, because anybody in the know could have seen this coming, all right? This is no surprise. But if you would have just be honest, for one, honesty is the best way to go about everything, right? Even when you're completely in the wrong and you're honest and you want to tear a guy down, you're like, well, he just admitted it that he's a douche and he did the wrong thing. Okay, and then you kind of lower down. And then two, GSP, it's GSP. He's the greatest, the most polite, the role model. Who can say something bad about him? You know what I'm saying? So what does he have to lose with just being honest about, hey, this is my intention. I'm sorry. I think he would get so much more respect if that's how, not just GSP, by the way, Dana, everybody handled it. Then, like what George just said, is this part of the making this matchup okay? Well, it's in his contract that he's going to defend. I think if they were just honest from the get-go, like Go says, are we watching entertainment or sport? I'm okay with both. Just be honest what we're watching here.
We have the clip, so it's really short. Let's just play it and hear it, and we can decide for ourselves. But you got that ready, Danny?
I do. Here we go.
About it, but I'm not sure if I compete, I will go back at 185. I don't think so. Of course, in terms of weights, if I want to go back to compete at 185, I will, obviously eating like I did what I did. I learned from my mistake. I don't think it's a good thing to do. Force myself to eat to gain muscle mass. I've always been against performance enhancing drug, and I did it the natural way. There is no easy way. I did it the hard way, and it was to gain weight and to maintain my muscle mass, and it was very hard, and it was not healthy. I think the body has a natural way where he can perform is at his best athletic ability, and for me, the weight that I am now is my perfect weight.
Credit to TSN for that clip.
So whether he's lying or not, that was probably the best answer he could have given in the situation that he's in right now.
Mm-hmm. Dan, you were saying something about could he have been honest, and I think this is what it boils down to. I just think he knew that Bisping was the easier matchup between him and Woodley. Both world champions, both earned their spot, to get to wear those belts. Both had title defenses. Woodley 3, Bisping 1. But of the two, I think he felt, I think I have something for Bisping, whereas Woodley would be tougher. Believe it or not, just it's a matchup thing. They're pretty close there. And so now, what does he do? Does he immediately get a shot at Woodley, or maybe the UFC can punish him? I'm using air quotes, and say, "Hey, bitch, hold on a second. You're not just gonna run around back and forth. We already got another lunatic from Ireland doing that. Let's give you a #1 contender fight, while RDA and Lawler, you two figure it out. GSP, you fight, insert name, Usman, Colby, I don't know, somebody, and you get the winner of that fight. Because let me tell you something. Woodley, when he was talking to us last week, Diaz was a fight he would take with a shoulder that's not 100%. GSP's not a fight he's going to take with a shoulder that's not 100%. So I'm already looking at Woodley at March, May, and GSP's probably perfect with that because he doesn't like to rush into things. But then again, if GSP were to win that fight, I mean, this is a guy that fights once a year, twice a year, and this division just gets held hot. I'd rather just them start shaking it out now and making a tournament out of it, or just calling these contender matchups of some sort.
But if he wins that fight, I mean, if I'm not going to be okay with the guy not fighting too many times per year, I want to at least know he's fighting the top guys. And that's a top guy, right? So I would be okay with that.
All right. Danny, we ready to go with our guest?
We are.
Awesome. All right. So let's talk to Rachel Ostovich, who got a win this past weekend at the Ultimate Fighter. 26 finale. They call that season a new world champion. She got a first-round submission over Karine Gevorgian, and she joins us now on the hotline. Hello, Rachel. How you doing?
Hi, how are you guys? Thanks for having me.
Great. Thanks for joining us here on MMA Junkie Radio. You're on with George, Goes, and Dan. And congratulations, not just this past Friday and that win, a first-round submission armbar, but just really a great representation of yourself throughout the season, every Wednesday on Fox Sports 1, and then also the fight itself on Friday.
Yeah, you know, it was a great experience. I was really blessed to be a part of the Top 26 season and to get the outcome that I did on Friday. You know, it's just a really great feeling.
You know what I liked the most, actually, and it was actually one of your lower moments. What I liked the most was how much that loss affected you. And by that I mean, at that point in time, I knew you were a fighter, I knew you were a competitor, and I knew you were somebody we were going to enjoy covering for the next few years, and that someone I could become a fan of, you know, like a lot of times people just get into this for the money or the popularity or the fame, and others really just like to compete. So that moment you had, you know, that was shared, and I know it wasn't your highest point, and then of course your coach was there to put his arm around you and just tell you, you know, that this is just part of a journey, you know. That was a great moment, and you showed just how much you rebounded by, again, this win on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with fighting. Like, for me, I really love just the pure competition of it. I love testing myself. I love getting better. And, you know, just that adversity that we all go through. And to come back on the winning side and just, you know, exactly what I've been training for.
You know, overall, I thought the season did well. Even though the coaches didn't really have their normal coaches drama that the UFC likes to set up. And even though amongst you ladies, other than maybe Sarge and Lauren Murphy arguing over a sauna, the use of a sauna, and Lauren Murphy and Eddie kind of butting heads and her having to switch teams, you guys all kind of kept it cool. But you know what really made the season great was the fights. It was just great fights, great finishes. So, you know, I can't congratulate everybody personally, but you were part of it. It was just a fun season.
Yeah, it was a great. I couldn't have asked for better people to be surrounded by, a better team, better coaches. Even the staff was just amazing. You know, we all got along really well. I think we all were really happy that we got to focus on our stories and just, you know, our fighting and showing that we're serious and that we are the next and upcoming 125 UFC division. And, you know, I'm just looking forward to everything that's about to come in the near future.
Last question for me, and then I'll turn it over to the guys. Once the season was over, and because they do a great job of highlighting what you do, we know that you have a husband, you have a family, and being away from them was tough. I'm just curious, when you did get off the show and you came back, what was the first thing you did as a family, you know, and to make up time for those 6 weeks you were gone?
Honestly, I think, you know, I got home from the airport. We went to go eat like a nice little dinner. But it was right back to training. This is all I really, you know, I love to do this. I love to train. I love to just get better. And coming home with a loss, it, you know, didn't sit well with me. It never does, and I'll probably never get used to the feeling of losing. So it was right back to training. Me and my husband, we had very busy holidays coming up. You know, I had my fight with on December this past weekend, and he actually has his fight coming up on December 16th. So, you know, this is our lifestyle.
There you go, Rachel Ostovich, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. Dan, what do you have for Rachel Ostovich?
Well, Rachel, as a fellow Hawaiian, I haven't been back to the island to visit. I'm planning my next trip, but it's been a couple years. Now, the scene just seems to be getting, you know, growing bigger and bigger over there. Can you speak on it? Now, obviously, you're in a family with martial arts there, but, I mean, just as far as the Hawaii scene and your training and how that relates.
Yeah, you know, Hawaii, I was lucky enough to share the weekend with, you know, Yancy Medeiros and Max Holloway, and I feel like people are finally catching on to, you know, that we got some serious talent out here on these islands, and if, you know, they give us some attention, we can, you know, put on a show. There's so much more talent out here. It's really unbelievable how much talent we have in just our little island.
That's awesome. And can you maybe speak on more on maybe who you're training with as far as coaches, facilities, anybody you want to shout out maybe for this camp in particular?
Yeah, I've always kept it, close to my fam. We have our own gym out here, Jesus is Lord, and we keep it really tight. And I feel like that's the key to, success is just having those core people around me, and keeping me focused and balanced and level-headed. And it's when you got your whole family and all this support behind you, a lot of it, it comes it's a lot easier to take on. My husband is my training partner. I have a lot of really good training partners out here as well. But I feel like, we all want to represent our state and we all want to do good. So I feel like we have that momentum going. We all see each other working hard. We're all being inspired by each other, and, it shows in our fights.
Rachel Ostovich from The Ultimate Fighter Season 26 on the hotline right now, coming off a win over Karine Gevorgian at The Ultimate Fighter, a new world champion finale. All right, Goes, what do you have for Rachel Ostovich?
Well, I want to go back to The Ultimate Fighter for a second because I was fascinated a little bit by something that we don't get to see a lot of, and the loss on Tough, you have to experience it almost twice because it happens live for you, but then not a lot of people know about it. So then you have to go back and almost have to relive it a second time. This win that you just had right now, like how long did it take you to get over the loss, and did this win maybe help you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't ever cancel out, fights that happen. I lost that fight. I won this fight. It's a totally different fight, and I just look back at it and I go back to it, and I just remember, like you said, I lived through it twice. It was actually it was a very, very unique experience for me, having to live that and then go home and have it replay a month and a half later. And it was actually really nice because I was kind of coming towards the end of my training camp where, sometimes things get a little harder. So watching that on TV with everyone, with experiencing it with my family, it kind of brought that, I had fire. It just made my fire burn even more, to get on this winning side and, I guess, show the world that I do belong in the UFC and in this 120, and I could be a name in this 125 division.
Rachel, you're in a nice position right now that a lot of fighters throughout the years that have been on the show have told us they like, and that's getting a win at the end of the year. And even though it sucks, you miss out a little bit on the holidays, but now you have all of 2018 where you could possibly get in more fights than what you're used to. Can you forecast 2018 for us, and how many times do you think you'll be fighting?
Well, 2018, if it's anything like 2017, I will be certainly blessed and happy. This past year, 2017, it's been amazing. I have 4 fights this year, more fights than I ever did in the past 4 years all combined. And for me, that experience is just everything to me. I feel like I want to keep busy, and I let my manager know, I let the UFC know that I want to stay busy. That's where I grow the most, and I feel that people watching, people who actually take notice of my career, can actually witness it for themselves. The growth that has taken place in just this past year.
Big weekend for the Hawaiians, and Rachel Ostovich, our guest on the line, was part of that, leading things off on Friday with her win over Karine Gevorgian, capping off a great season for all the ladies, this debut flyweight division for the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Rachel, again, great showing for yourself throughout the season and at the finale, and we look forward to interviewing you again once we turn the page, get to the new year, and you get your next fight booking.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a nice holiday season, all right?
You too. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You too.
Have a good one.
All right. Bye, Rachel.
Bye.
All right, folks. I want to thank Brian Butler for lining that one up. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll come back and wrap things up. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93.
They taught Andy Griffith how to whistle. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Yep, here are Gorgeous George and Goes and Dan Tom, but you only get us for about 60 seconds because we are out of here. So yeah, look, we push it against the clock, but that just means we gave you more time throughout, and in the end you have to pay a little bit of the price. More combat sports and entertainment here on Sirius XM Rush 93. In the meantime, once you get home and you're becoming more of a hardcore fan, give us a follow at MMA Junkie Radio on Twitter. I'm at MMA Junkie George. Goes is at the Goes. Dan Tom is at Dan Tom MMA. Dan Tom MMA, excuse me. Danny, our producer, is at Danny Otto. I want to thank our guest today, Rachel Ostovich. Shout out to Brian Butler for setting that up. Rashad Evans. Shout out to John Stauffer for setting that up. Tomorrow we'll be joined by Joseph Benavidez in studio. He'll be our in-studio co-host. And we'll also be joined by one of the young guns that looked good this past weekend, Sean O'Malley. He'll be another guest of ours. So we are out of here for now. For Danny and Dan and Goes, I'm George. Have a nice day. Go out there. Don't just take up space on this planet. Be a champion.